It's not only your rigging or other gear above decks that requires quality stainless steel on a boat. If you don't want to end up with rusty pans and flatware in your galley, you'll want to make sure your stainless there is also a higher quality. But how do you figure this out? I'm Carolyn Sherlock, and on this episode of the Boat Galley podcast, I'll share a hack that will help you identify suitable stainless for your galley. Now, today's episode of the Boat Galley podcast is sponsored by Teak Guard Products. Looking to refinish your boat's teak with a minimum of mess and fuss? Look no further. Their non-toxic, water-based formulas for cleaning and finish will turn your teak from dingy to sparkling in no time, and with really a minimum of effort. It's what I'm using. Use coupon code BG20 for 15% off your order of $50 or more. Teak Guard. Admire your teak and spend less time maintaining it. Okay, stainless isn't all created equal, even in the galley. Now, in buying screws and bolts, you might be seeing designations like 316 or 304. But flatware and pots and pans, they use old-style designations such as 18/10, 18/8, and 18/0. What do those represent, and does it really matter for galley items? Well, in researching and also then in using these for years, I've discovered that yes, it does matter for the galley, just like everywhere else on the boat. And even if you're in freshwater or using it ashore, it still matters. The numbers aren't important for strength in the galley. The thickness of the item in question will really determine its strength, whether it's fork tines, spoon handles, or pans denting or having hot spots. The thicker, the better. Yes, there are strength differences in the alloys that can be important in items of the same size, such as bolts, but for galley purposes, the design of the item plays a far greater role. The numerical designation is important for rust resistant. What, you say? Stainless isn't supposed to rust. Well, yes, it can. In the two-number designations, the first number refers to the percentage of chromium, and the second, the percentage of nickel in the alloy. Now, anything called stainless must have a minimum of 10% chromium, and this provides some basic rust resistance. Nickel is not required in the alloy for something to be called stainless, but it provides additional protection against rust. Stainless with nickel is considered to be in the 300 series if you're talking about boat parts, the 316, 304, 302, 301. We're all used to seeing these, and it is not magnetic. Stainless without nickel is in the 400 series and is rarely found on decent marine equipment. And that's the stuff that is magnetic, whether we're talking about boat parts or galley gear. And without all that nickel, it has a much greater propensity to rust, particularly in a saltwater environment. Now, without going into all the details, basically, 1810 is very similar to 316. And has the greatest rust and pitting resistance. It's important if you envision washing dishes in salt water. 18.8 is similar to 304. It's pretty good, but it's not really rust resistant. And 18.0 would be part of the 400 series and is definitely going to rust and pit, particularly around saltwater environment, even with just the air, and particularly if you do dishwashers in salt water. Of course, the more nickel, the more expensive. True 316 marine grade stainless also has about 2% molybdenum, I'll try to pronounce that correctly, which greatly resists pitting in seawater. Now, I have never seen this used in anything for the galley. The bottom line is, if you can find it and afford it, 1810 will do best on a boat, particularly one that's around salt water. 18.8 will be acceptable. Now, people just in homes will complain about 18.0 rusting, using fresh water and everything. So really, you want to avoid that on a boat, particularly if you're in a humid climate and or if you're in the saltwater environment. Now, it's usually the cheapest. There's a reason. Anyways, let's continue on to how you can test the quality of stainless on kitchen or galley gear. One of my early sets that I had on a boat had a mid-range price and felt pretty solid in my hand, yet it began rusting in a year. And I don't do dishes in salt water. When I bought it, I just somehow figured that if it said it was stainless, that was good enough. Well, that isn't. You really need to know, but they're usually not labeled. So how do you figure it out? Well, carry a small magnet with you. That way you can test and see if the pan or the spoon, spatula, whatever, is magnetic. If it's magnetic, it's going to be prone to rust. If it won't stick to the magnet or sticks very, very weakly, it's going to be good for use on the boat. I've been carrying magnets for years, looking for things like bolts and going to the hardware. But now I pull it out whenever I'm buying something for the galley. I hope you found this episode of the Boat Galley podcast helpful. If you did, please tell your friends and be sure to sign up, subscribe so you never miss an episode. Thank you.